Zion
Oh no.
Williamson out for Friday. Hamstring
Mm.
is going to have him out. Left hamstring, that's per Woj. So just killer. And the worst part of this will be evaluated again in the coming weeks.
Oh
So
my
even if they
goodness.
win, probably not going to see Zion in the first round against the Thunder. Um, this sucks for a whole bunch of reasons. It also sucks because Zion was awesome last night. That's the
Yeah.
best I've ever seen him play. The Lakers had no answer for him
No.
at any point in the game. And I'm not going to say the Lakers would have lost if Zion had stayed in the
Yeah, we
game.
don't know,
We no idea of
but
knowing that because the Pelicans still made a whole bunch of shots in the last 3 minutes after he went out.
mhm.
But yeah, it's just now it kind of enters a who knows, with it. But I tweeted this last night, and of course, I had a couple Lakers fans, just like fans of any team would say, "Hey, I was fine with it because it helped our team." But what I tweeted last night was, I don't care who you were rooting for. When a guy's going that good and everything he's been through, it sucked seeing him
Yes.
get hurt. He was
That
just
was
off.
so it was so unfortunate and frustrating to see. You could see the
And he knew
frustration from
right
Zion.
away too.
Yep,
Like, yeah,
he knew.
it's just
I,
awful.
I
Yeah.
I mentioned this actually. I mentioned it in a piece that I'm writing for the Basketball Bulletin, which I'll put the link for in the description down below. You guys should definitely check that out. That's our Substack. But I mentioned in there. I think the biggest compliment that I can give Zion is that he was in essentially a playoff game where he shared the floor with LeBron James and Anthony Davis, and he was the best player on the floor. Like
Yeah.
that's telling you how good he was in last night's game. He was incredible, and so that's it's what we feared was going to be the case, that he was not going to be a go for Friday's game now against the Sacramento Kings, who beat the Warriors, and we'll talk about them in just a moment. But man, that's he was so good. Brandon Ingram was clearly not 100%, and Zion was carrying the Pelicans, and he was unstoppable. It was incredible seeing what he was doing out there. So terrible, terrible news for a Pelicans team that has got to be so frustrated. They were so close to punching their ticket to the postseason. I thought there were a few moments there where I went, this is going to go the other way here." But man, that is not what you want to hear, not what you want to see, of course. And as you said, yes, it helped my Lakers. I was not happy to see that
Yeah.
with Zion. That's not how you want to win it. And again, we don't know what would have happened, but you never want to see a guy get hurt, especially a guy that's having one of the games of his life in a big moment on a big stage when so many questions have been asked of him, when he was answering those questions right in front of us, and then have that happen. That's terrible news.
Yeah. And I always say this: when you beat a team that had players out with injuries or a player goes out, you don't hand the game back and say, "Hey, sorry, well, we won't take the win." You take the win, but there's also a sense, and I'm glad it's that you put it perfectly, is it's just not how you wanted to win.
Yeah.
But you win and you move on. And it unfortunately, as much as it sucks, injuries are a huge part of sports. It
Mm-hmm.
it happens. It is what it is, and we go with this. I thought there was a play fairly early in the fourth quarter. They'd been trying to defend Zion with a combination of Rui Hachimura for a lot of the early moments. Then
Mm-hmm.
they went to LeBron. LeBron didn't have anything for him. I thought LeBron looked tired. Like he just looked slow
He had
last night.
Davis was not 100% clearly
Davis
with
clearly,
his
yeah,
back.
yeah,
And LeBron, both of them said after the game, like, we both played terrible games, and they
yeah,
did. They
yeah,
were,
yeah,
despite their stat lines, their shooting percentages showed that they neither one
yeah.
of them looked good.
Yeah, they were lucky. I mean, and they both, gave credit where credit was due. They're like other guys
For sure.
stepped up, and it's,
Yeah.
I mean, they had, D'Lo is, continues to be on a heater and is, playing really, really well. I thought Gabe Vincent gave them really pretty solid minutes off the bench, which is, I thought it was
Shocking.
funny. I don't know who it was. A lot of people were tweeting like, oh, that's those Miami dark arts creeping in because now it's, winning time. Like of course, Gabe Vincent is, and he's obviously been hurt, but like non-factor all season. But here we are, playoff time. He's ready to go. But the play I was thinking about was they switched AD on to Zion. It was kind of like all right, we've got nothing left to go to. And I know AD was limited and obviously wasn't moving well, but Zion took one dribble and blew by AD
Yeah.
I think he ended up laying it in. I don't think he dunked it,
He
but it
does
was
he does the offhand layup,
yeah,
you know?
and somehow
Yeah.
he puts it like at the top of the backboard. Like it's crazy where he places that ball. But it was like that was the play where it's like, oh, okay. like this guy's been good, but like we are here. Like even AD limited, like that's still like that doesn't happen to him. And he had plays earlier in the game, like CJ McCollum looked like completely had AD beat on a play. And then AD was like, yeah, thanks, but I'm sending this shot into the 10th row of the seats here. Like,
Yeah.
that was the one where I was like, all right, he is a different level of Zion today. And yeah, and then it was like a couple minutes later, he had that play and it sucked. He knew it right away. He asked
He
out of
knew
the
it.
game, sat for a minute, threw the towel, and just was very, very upset. Like I just, yeah, man, I feel for him. I feel for the Pelicans fans. I don't know. Let's get into the other game now, I guess. The
Yeah.
Kings and Warriors.
Yeah.
Kings
Kings Warriors.
raced
The
up and
Kings took it
down
to him.
and
The
owned it.
Kings got
Yeah,
their revenge for last
yeah,
season.
yeah. In a lot of ways, for sure. Keegan Murray, we said he was going to have to be good. He was awesome in this game. Not only did he step up offensively, but he he was. I love the cat. The cat's like adding a whole aesthetic, and the pup went off somewhere.
He's this is his favorite thing. Like he rarely gets to come in here. Most of the time I don't let him in when I'm recording something. And today I was just like, all right, fine. He normally will go sleep like off camera, but today he's like, no. I want my
Making
time in
the
the
most of
spotlight
it.
here. Yeah.
Should be. Yeah, why not? I I thought Murray, huge offensively, did a great job defending Stephen Curry. He was the primary guy on Curry early on. Helped hound Curry. Speaking of guys who look tired and exhausted, like I hope Steph takes some time off before getting
Yeah.
ready for a huge summer for Team USA because I just think it's cumulative on court, what he has to do for that team, plus everything off court that he shoulders. I felt like he was just done. So yeah, man, Kings they really did. They took it to him. And if we focus on the Kings for a minute, because we're spending a little bit of time on the Warriors, I think the Kings have a real chance against the Pelicans. I think if they can turn it into a let's race up and down the floor and try to outscore us. Good luck doing that without Zion.
Yeah.
I think the Kings will win. I think the big winner here is the Oklahoma City Thunder because they're getting a
Yeah.
weakened team either way.
Either way.
That they're gonna come out, and quite frankly, they didn't get the Lakers, who are just proven not to be a great matchup for them. So I'm excited to see what it looks like for the for this game, but I'm kind of leaning towards the Kings.
Yeah, I am too. I'm definitely leaning Kings, especially with a diminished Brandon Ingram. And either way, you're right. The Thunder had to be rooting for the Lakers last night, hoping that the Lakers weren't going to be the team that wound up playing on Friday and then got a win because it's a tough matchup for them. And now my Lakers have got to deal with a really tough matchup with the Denver Nuggets. But you and I both agreed that it's not tanking that game did not make sense for the Lakers. So it's good to see them go out there and do what they could to win it.
If they
but
lost that game, I mean, clearly as a Boston kid, I root against the Lakers most situations. Sure. I don't know what levels of rooting against the Lakers I would have done if they had lost that game on purpose, but I don't know. I might have, if it was the Kings, I might have dyed my hair purple. That's how on the Kings
and gold.
Kings purple, to be clear. Just Kings purple. But yeah, man, that's just they and there's still people suggesting it. Like, see, the Warriors didn't even get through. They should have yeah,
the Kings were 4-0 against the Lakers on the season.
Yeah.
So it's not. It wasn't about ducking the Warriors or anything like that. No.
We talked about don't touch that hot stove. Like that's the definition of like I'm going to touch the hot stove anyway. Like,
right.
It's just playing with fire like crazy.
All right, let's talk a little bit about the Warriors. Is this the end for them? I mean, they obviously fielded some questions about that last night. It was not a great ending for them. I mean, Clay was over. What happens here with Golden State? Obviously, they like to keep Steph, but Draymond, Clay now, the contract situation, where do they go?
I don't know. I'm not trying to be snarky or anything like that. This is these are hard decisions to make for them. My guess is they bring Clay back on a 1 or 2 year deal that basically halves his salary. So something in the range of 20 million, even if that's a slight overpay, which I question if it even is. I think people are burying Clay a little too early. Still averaged 18
Yes.
points on
Yeah.
39% from three. Like,
Right.
let's not get too wild that he's not the
Y-
same guy. I get it. But
Yeah, I've got people acting like he's a veteran minimum guy now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I'm like,
that's
and this is Keith, this is the kind of thing that will now linger into the offseason. We saw it last year with D'Angelo Russell, where and it happens, it's not unique to D'Lo or Clay, or it
sure.
happens. It's what have you done for me lately? And that if that was particularly positive or negative, that lingers into the offseason, regardless of what happened throughout the remainder of
Yeah.
the bulk of the season. And so there's going to be that Clay negativity that is going to, I think, persist throughout much of the summer.
Yeah, I
Unfortunately.
think like I said, I think a 1 or 2 year deal, pay him about 20 million a year. Some of that is a thank you for everything you have meant to us. And it's also not an insane amount where it's like, well, we could never trade him. I kind of am now leaning towards they probably just straight up waive Chris Paul from his not. Chris Paul makes 30 million next year, but it's
Mm-hmm.
fully non-guaranteed. One of the thought processes was, will you keep him and then you try to spin that 30 million into two two guys who make 15 million and rebuild some depth. But I kind of think with all the very public talking they've done about we have to lower our tax bill or try to get out of the tax,
Mm-hmm.
if you half Clay's salary, you get rid of Chris Paul, you're well on your way to doing that. That could get to a point where you open up like the non-taxpayer MLE to go sign somebody and bring a guy in. I think they'll at least entertain the idea of what would it take to trade Andrew Wiggins. Makes
Yeah.
about 87 million on the last 3 years, or I'm sorry, last is it 3 or 4? Last 3 years of his deal, he makes 85 million. Sorry, I gave him a little bump there. That's his 2022 finals madness bump from me,
Right.
where he basically won them a title. Um, so I think what happens there is you see like what would we have to give up to get off his contract? Does it have to be picks? What if we threw in, is there a world where we'll take back somebody who's kind of also questionable, but maybe a better fit or whatever? I kind of wonder if they at least let it be known, well, listen on Draymond if anybody wants to make an
Mm-hmm.
offer. But I think it's probably going to look like similar-ish team minus Chris Paul, flesh out the bench a little bit, and you just try to get back at it. We're getting a little too crazy, and I was being on it a little bit last night too when they lost. They still won 46 games this year. They weren't a terrible team by any means.
No.
If you didn't have all the Draymond foolishness, they probably do win around 50 games, and they're probably not even in the play-in tournament. Like that's just the reality of they lost some games when everything got really stupid there. So I think you try to see if you can run it back a little bit, maybe catch lightning in a bottle with matchups and make a playoff run and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's probably what they're going to do, but I know they're not going to move on from Steph. I think
No,
everything else will be on the table for this team as they try what they want to do.
you only trade Steph if Steph comes and says, trade me. I don't want to
Yeah.
be here anymore. And that's not going to happen. They're not going to trade him. And they shouldn't, because that's a huge slap in the face to your fans. I know some fans will say, well, if that gets us this monster return of picks and everything, like that's great. But more of your fans are going to be like, no, I don't want to watch Stephen Curry play for the Charlotte Hornets. Like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see him on the Orlando Magic. Like, I want him to retire here as a Warrior. Like that's what I want. I don't care if those teams can offer us good young players and a bunch of draft capital and all this stuff. Like, and that's how it should be. Like it's kind of why I don't want Clay to leave. Like I kind of want Clay to finish it out. I just seeing like the ones that everybody always goes to are Ewing and Olajuwon, at the end of their careers, but also like Tony Parker with the Hornets, like that never really like it's not how it should be. Like I want to see guys finish out, certain guys obviously finish out, where they were. I think it makes the most sense.
Yeah, you don't want that, the kind of the weird where it just feels wrong seeing them in that
Yeah.
different jersey. Yeah.
And you open up the basketball reference page and it's like 16 years of one team and then one team at the end where they played 35 games and
Yeah.
like, yeah, I don't know. It just kind of ruins it. Like it ruins the aesthetic of all of it. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, they've got decisions to make. I feel like you say this about every team because there is truth to it. I'm curious about what every team's going to do. But man, the Warriors, they're just, this is a huge summer for them.
Yeah. Absolutely is. Absolutely is.